Hello and welcome to Aftersound Review, and this time I will review a very spectacular item at its price point for me. This is the Thieaudio Clairvoyance, which is cost around 700 bucks, and it is using a single dynamic driver, 5 balance armature, and 2 electrostatic drivers. Okay, let's get to the point where I will review them from the build, fit, frequency response, and then comparison with my Moondrop S8, which is priced at exactly the same 700 bucks. Straight from the build itself, for me, it is nothing really special. If you're already familiar with Thieaudio, Sorry Audio, or maybe some Chinese companies like that, this is quite your simple, normal resin IM, which is using a metal nozzle. I found it's really similar to those company, and I should say, even though it is big, but I don't really feel that it's truly convincing in terms of strength in build quality. So it's just your normal chi-fi resin based IM. And then you will see there's a little vent on its back right here, and it is using dual pin connectors with this cable. The cable itself actually looks cool. It's really good from aesthetically. It is twisted on the upper side and twisted on the lower side, and you can see that the Y splitter, also the jack itself, and this is using a converter. Yes, I know it looks a bit ridiculous, but yeah, it just feels good in quality, but in practical I don't feel that the cable itself is really comfortable thanks to its weight, and it's not really flexible. So yeah, I do feel there's a little discomfort when it comes to fitting, thanks to two things. First of all, of course, the housing itself is quite big, and I have small Asian ears, and yes, this lower part of the shell is actually keep touching my ears, and the nozzle itself is actually quite short. So when I need to get a good fit, good isolation, I need to push them a little bit farther. But this part, either it's my left or right ears, always touch this part, and somehow this part is just really too big, and it keeps touching my ears in an unpleasant way. And the cable itself doesn't really help thanks to its weight, and it's not that flexible. So yeah, the fit itself, if you have small ears like me, I don't think that it is recommendable for you to try this IM. I mean, you do need to try this IM first before you buy it, because you could never know whether they will fit your ears or not, because I'm having a little bit of struggle when I'm using them. And then when it comes to the sound, I will use my FX DSD, Qdelix 5K, and also my iBasso GX160. And here's my song list. Okay, this is the frequency response for the Thieaudio Clairvoyance. And for me, this Thieaudio Clairvoyance has a really good tonality. If I have maybe kind of tonality ranking, I guess I should put this Thieaudio Clairvoyance as one of the top pick because of how good it is. You can see that the main emphasis is mainly on the bass to the sub bass, and then there's a mid-range bump around this area, 2 to 3 kilohertz, but it never goes to up to the top, never goes overboard. And then the treble is actually quite extended to the 10K, and after that it's not really reliable for my coupler. But here's the thing, I need to compare them with the famous Harman response like the Moondrop KXSS. And for me, some critics for the Harman response. Usually, for one, the mid-range is a little bit shouty for some people. I don't feel that shoutiness actually. And then the treble roll-off is quite obvious after this 3K bump. And that's what I hear. When I usually review IM with Harman response, I don't really like how the treble somehow feels kind of rolled off after the mid-range. And for me, this Thieaudio Clairvoyance is definitely an answer to that. You can see that I don't have any problem at all with the bass. They are both excellent, but the Thieaudio Clairvoyance is playing it more safely than Harman, and for me it sounds more balanced somehow. It's less shouty, it's a little bit warmer, but still giving a really good balance overall tonality for male and female vocals. And you can see in this exercise, after the 3K bump, it's really rolled off in the treble area. This part is mainly my resonance peak, and then when it comes to the Thieaudio Clairvoyance, it's more balanced for me in the mid-range, and also the treble is still quite extended more than the KXSS. So yeah, really good tonality from the Thieaudio Clairvoyance. And here's my S8 measurement. Even though I love my Moondrop S8 because of its coherency, its really good technicality, but the tonality alone, I could say that I do prefer the Thieaudio Clairvoyance. It is less shouty, especially in the 3K mid-range area, but I know some people that might like S8 better because the female vocal especially, it sounds more forward. But for me, Thieaudio Clairvoyance is actually more balanced. And again, the treble area for me, it's more extended in the Thieaudio Clairvoyance, while the S8 is actually rolled off after this 3K bump. I feel that there's a quite roll off in that area, even though it's more extended than the usual KXSS or 10-chip Austin. But for me, Clairvoyance is still more extended and more balanced in that regard. So I think, yes, in short, Thieaudio Clairvoyance has a really good tonal balance. Really 2 thumbs up for me. Okay, so when it comes to the sound, I could simply categorize this Thieaudio Clairvoyance as balanced. I don't really hear anything really emphasized here, only a bit emphasized on the upper mid-range and the bass, but it's still really balanced and really well extended from up to bottom. So the tonal balance is really good here. It never goes offensive, it just really feels natural and balanced. I need to say, but if you are really sensitive to incoherencies, I bet you will still find it a little bit incoherent. But it's just a little bit. But I'm just being nitpick here that I have heard some of the worst incoherencies from Tribe that I am. Let's say the Mofases Trio from me is definitely more incoherent compared to this Thieaudio Clairvoyance, but it's still noticeable in some songs. You will still that the bass, the transient speed of the bass is still a little bit lagging behind the speed of the treble, because of how fast the electrostatic driver is, so you can still feel that contrast here. The bass is punchy, it is deep, it is actually not really sluggish, but it's just not as fast as you want if you like some songs with double pedal from like Mike Portnoy, like from Dream Theater like that. I still feel it's just a little bit lagging behind, but it's just, again, it's just a little bit. But the definition of the bass, it is punchy, it is deep, and the texture is really good. So if you like EDM, if you like pop songs with a lot of bass, I bet you will like this kind of bass, because this is very versatile, it is very good, and the punch and texture is just very satisfying for me. But you need to definitely get a good seal with it, which I'm a little bit struggling with at the first because of how big the shell is, how big the housing is. But nevertheless, it is a really good bass. And the mid-range, wow! Mid-range is definitely one of the most balanced mid-range I've ever tried at IM. So yes, I'm not saying this is the clearest, I'm not saying this is the most, the best vocal, the best mid-range, no, but the balance here is just astonishing. So when I hear male vocals like Il Divo or Josh Groban, and I hear powerful female vocals like Adele or maybe Celine Dion, and I hear some thin Asian sounding female vocals like Joju or Cindian, or powerful, a bit screamy sounding female vocal like Lisa. I mean Lisa, Japanese Lisa, not the Korean K-pop Lisa. Or even if I hear K-pops, I found the vocals to be really balanced. I don't feel any sibilance here, I don't feel it's too thin, I don't feel it's too thick. It's just how this is really natural here, and yeah, it is really good. It's really good vocal. It's really good balancing on the mid range. And when it comes to the high notes for the treble, it is really well extended. So when I hear La Campanella or La Primavera, it's well extended. It's really well extended. But you still feel a little bit of electrostatic timbre here. So if I have tried some IMs, tried it like Mofas S3. If you're concerned a little bit of timbre here, yes, you still get that cymbal crash uniqueness. The timbre is just, but not really sibilant. It's just different from DA or from dynamic. The timbre of the electrostatic is still there, but it is smooth and it is well extended. So really good tonal balance, and the technicalities itself is also good. And in fact, the soundstage and 3D imaging might be one of the things that you might recognize first when you hear this. If you try to play live music, like for example like Hotel California, MTV Live 1994, it is really huge. You will feel that you're in the concert there. The bass is deep, you can feel the clapping sound around you, and you feel the vocal and the treble itself is kind of smearing around you. It's really good 3D imaging and soundstage. And the separation is also good. You won't feel that the elements in the orchestral tracks, like for example the Two Steps from Hell, will get fighting each other here. It is separated really cleanly. So yes, this is a complete package. And for me, the tonal balance is good, the technicalities is good. The only caveat is the fitting, and it's subjective. I know it is subjective, but a lot of people who have tried it a little bit complained about that, because and we are Asians. Maybe if you are Europeans or maybe Western who have much larger ears than us Asians, you will get no complaint. But it's for me a little bit too small. I'm a small Asian. And then the coherences is not the best, definitely. You get the best of the bass and S and mid range, but it's not perfectly coherent sometimes. Okay, so how is it compared to one of my best IM? This is the Moondrop S8, which is cost exactly the same. This $700. And yes, for a long time S8 has been my personal favorite IMs. And at the same price, for me, they are both really good. And if I need to recommend a $700 for me, these two IMs is a must try. So it will be a tight battle here. Starting from the build and fit, for me the build itself is actually a bit better when it comes to the housing for the S8. I don't know why, but I feel that the house is fuller in S8. I don't know whether it's just my illusion or what. I just feel a little bit fuller. And although it's bigger in Thieaudio Clairvoyance, it feels a little, somehow I feel a little bit hollowness in the shell. And then the cable, although it is, for me, it is more durable, I think, in the Thieaudio Clairvoyance, but in the S8 it's more flexible. And when it comes to the fitting, for me, again, I have small Asian ears, the S8 is just way better than the Clairvoyance. It is smaller, it fits like a custom IM, and yes, I do have custom IM here, and they fit really good, and S8 feels almost exactly like that. While the Clairvoyance, I have a little bit of struggle when wearing it because of how big it is. And when it comes to the tonal balance, for me, the Clairvoyance is actually a little bit better. The bass is deeper with better texture. Of course, it's dynamic, better texture. The mid-range is more balanced for me. I know some people that consider the S8 as shouty. I myself don't really consider it as shouty. I really like the S8, but some people I know will reconsider the S8 as a little bit shouty on the upper mid-range, a little bit intense. The Clairvoyance is smoother and more subdued in the upper mid-range. So yes, I could say it is safer in the Clairvoyance. The treble also, it is more subdued, it is more it is not as forward sounding in the S8. It's just more laid back. It's not as extended as the Clairvoyance. The Clairvoyance is simply more extended, although it's never going really harsh. So yes, it's more complete for me. The frequency is more complete from up to bottom in the Clairvoyance, and also the tonal balance is a little bit more balanced in the Clairvoyance. But for me, the S8 is more coherent thanks to how it is using a balanced armatures, all balanced armature, 8 balanced armature, and for me, sometimes in some songs I could get a little bit of strange sensation in my head because of the incoherencies, but in S8 it never happens. It's just really coherent. Balanced armature is sound from up to bottom with really good also tonal balance. But if I have to nitpick, yes, the tonal balance itself is a little bit more better and the Clairvoyance, yes. But I need to say that, I don't know, I need to say that even though it's more compressed, the dynamics, the extension, but in this more compressed dynamics and more compressed frequency response, for me S8 sounds more tidy. The bass is faster, the mid-range pronunciation is clearer, the clarity is better, and also I could hear some details, some clarity that I don't really get at this Thieaudio Clairvoyance. For example, like the Kenshi Yonezu, the La Campanella, it sounds, the intro songs, you will hear notes like da 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 da. So it's a fast note, and the notes is clearly better in the S8. And some pronunciation of the words, the articulation of the singer, for me I could get little better at this S8. And when it comes to the technicalities, the soundstage is definitely way better in this Thieaudio Clairvoyance. It is more 3D, it is more like a huge round ball here, but the S8 somehow, it is smaller ball, but the pinpoint of the imaging, I feel that S8 is better at pinpoint where the sound came. It's more small, but it's more sharp in imaging. So for me, they are both really good. So it just depends on your preference alone. Some will prefer Clairvoyance, I know, and some will prefer S8. And as for me, subjectively speaking, I have to say that because I'm quite sensitive to incoherencies, I still pick S8. And one of the factors that definitely picks the S8 over the Clairvoyance is simply the fitting. It's just much more better for me. So, but nevertheless, I still think that the Clairvoyance is really one of the best IM I could recommend at its price range. So they are both really recommended, and in fact they are both my top recommendation if you have $700. It is almost $1,000, but at $700 price point, for me, you really need to try this too. Okay, I hope you like this review. If you have any question, please write down in the comment below. See you next time. Bye bye.